There is a podcast about an island in the North Atlantic where people have been looking for an incredible treasure for more than 200 years.
Hello and welcome back to Could It Be?
An Oak Island podcast.
We are your hosts, Deidre and Dustin White.
And so we're back from outer space.
Did we go to outer space?
Okay, not quite, but
it kind of feels like it.
Yeah, we are back podcasting today about the season finale because we haven't done that yet, even though it was over 2 months ago. It aired over 2 months ago, and we haven't podcasted about it.
We haven't. You know, the world's been a little busy with other stuff, but in particular, right after the end of the season.
Yeah, we started getting interviews with Oak Island cast members, right?
Yeah.
And that started with Laird. Niven.
Yes.
You guys, I hope, everybody that listened to the Laird interview, raise your hands. All right. We can't see you, but we're trusting that you're raising your hands. And then we interviewed Vanessa. Mm-hmm. That was awesome.
Yes. We had a lot of interviews.
Yeah. So, if you haven't heard those, go back, check them out because they're very enlightening.
Yeah, so what'd you say? We had Laird, we had Vanessa, we had Tony, we had Steve, we had Maddie, we had a couple of theorists on with us.
Chris Morford and Corey and Mall.
Yes, that was really exciting.
It was a lot of fun, and I think there's at least one more, right? Or is that all of them?
Well, it'll be terribly embarrassing if we miss someone, and then that'll definitely get edited out of the podcast version because yikesos.
Nah, we got it. So we just want to say, hey, yeah, we're back. We're recording a podcast about the season finale of The Curse of Oak Island, season 7, Timeline.
Episode 23.
Yeah, but before we get into that, and that's going to come really, really soon. But before we get into that, I just want to say, babe, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Today's our anniversary. We've been married for 13 years.
Jeez.
How about that?
Where'd the time go? Well, I mean, 13 years. It went like 13 years in the past.
It went to good times.
Good times.
Yeah, lots
of treasure hunting.
Lots of treasure hunting in the past few years.
Yeah, seriously.
The first decade of our marriage, you weren't really into treasure hunting, but
no, definitely not.
We made it.
So
yeah. All right, so y'all, you guys ready to talk about season finale? Are you?
Yeah, I think you've asked me a few times.
Are you ready?
And I'm
Are you
still ready.
I'm ready too.
Nothing's changed.
All right, so the season finale started off in the money pit, so why don't we jump in there?
Yes. Yeah, you know, usually we hop around from like place to place, like Money Pit to Smith's Cove to wherever. But really, we spent time in 2 places.
Yeah, well, I think we should follow the timeline of events of the timeline episode this time.
Look at you being punny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, so the Money Pit, I just kind of laugh because we open with our intense music.
Yes. And
the sun setting because...
I always love the music of Oak Island. Like,
yes.
It's just so over the top, but it's so perfect, you know?
Yeah, that's Oak Island.
Classic
Oak Island. Yeah. But what we know is the episode prior, we were having some issues, right? So we've got this intense music making us think that what's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
Because our back's up against the wall. It's November.
Keeping you on the edge of your seat.
Always.
Yeah. So we got Rick and Craig. They approached the brand new borehole that was begun the prior episode, RF1.
Yes.
Restall Family 1.
Yep.
And they meet up with Marty while Danny, Vanessa, and Dave worked in the oscillator. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we had a pirate. We had 2 pirates because we had Danny the pirate and the rowdy one, Dave Blankenship, right?
Yeah.
And Vanessa holding down the fort.
They were, but we also we got a shot of Mike Jardine from Irving and then Gary and Craig, and they're talking about the status of what's going on with everything right now. So Mike kind of gives us the breakdown of we had 12 feet in the can last week, right? Yeah. And we decided to leave the hammer grab in there to see if we could push through the blockage, blockage is not the word we usually use.
The plug?
Yeah, thank you. I'm thinking like Drano or something. Come on now.
The hammer grab was the giant Drano or whatever. It was the giant.
It's a snake,
yeah,
right?
It was a snake. It was pushing it all down, and it guess what happened?
It's like a big latrine.
It is a giant. It is. They found the latrine. They finally did it.
Made their very own.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So anyway, they put that hammer grab on it for a few days. It pushed it down. And that's what they said. And then
that's what Clotworthy said.
Clotworthy then said a few days too. So he said both.
Mm-hmm. He also said a week.
Yeah.
Anyways, when they remeasured it, they were down at 7 feet. So that sounds super positive, right?
Yeah. Like Craig in particular was excited about that news.
Yeah. I would be too.
If you have all that money invested into this.
Right? And you have left a giant hammer grab in there in hopes that we're going to break through whatever it is that's a blockage.
Yeah, well, Vanessa's trick worked. That's the bottom line, right?
It looks like it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you were already talking about the week before, and so they were down to 170 feet. Mm-hmm. The equipment broke. They had to get it all back together. That's gotta be a bummer when it breaks and then you still can't go any further.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me sad.
That's part of life on a construction site. I'm guessing. Yeah, it is classic Oak Island. Nothing can always go right.
Yeah, right.
Look at the year 2020 for Oak Island.
It's the curse.
Yeah. So.
Oh, man. So we see Rick and Gary chatting, and Rick says that if wood comes out...
It could be the one thing. It would be the one thing.
It would be the one thing.
Well, they've never pulled wood out from that deep before, so, yeah, I mean, that would be pretty impressive. Pretty amazing.
Did you see Gary's face?
It's like, whoa! He looked gobsmacked.
Yeah, he goes, well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I just never know what the one thing's gonna be. But yeah, I'd say Gary was gobsmacked.
He was gobsmacked. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty big words coming from Rick. I think that's more of what he was gobsmacked about. Just because it's going to take a lot for Rick to say something like that.
Well, I've heard him say it could be the one thing many times.
I know, but
I've never seen the one thing happen.
Yeah, that's true. But if the one thing, I don't know. It's just just the words coming out of Rick's mouth.
That's true.
Hey, if we find wood here, that's the one thing. That's just a big, I don't know, just a big step for it's bold words.
It holds weight.
It does.
When Rick says it, everybody kind of stands at attention.
10 hook. Get in line. Yeah.
Get in line. Here comes the one thing.
Yeah, here comes the one thing. Everybody take a look. All right, so Danny Smith, the pirate, our favorite pirate out there.
Yes.
He detects a void deep within the oscillator at nearly 202 feet deep. And Vanessa tells this to Marty, and he is heartened by the news and relays it to Rick, who says, oh, wow.
I love when he comes to Rick, and he's just like, guess what?
Got something for you.
There's definitely a void.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that snarky little brother thing going on, and it made me happy.
Got something for you, big brother.
So they, 2 hammer grabs worth of material that they're pulling out.
Yeah.
With lots of water. Mm-hmm. And then like you said, we saw the pressure building and then a sudden drop. Danny's like, this is definitely a void. I mean, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. So they checked for metal. That's what Gary's out there doing with his detector. Lots of clay. And they grab in this grab and gravel. Mike Jardine notes that the gravel is crushed up and not natural materials from the island at that depth. Craig agrees and notes that this concerns him because it might be what they used to fill in borehole H8 back, because there was that collapse last year.
Yeah, and we get this, what is it, kind of like a flashback over to when they filled it in before, and just looking at them and then shaking the can, and I'm going, yep, that's it. It's much more uniform. It's gravel. There's no doubt that came out of the ground, which is scary, right?
Yeah, well, it's just and disappointing. They want to be pulling out gold coins and artifacts of some sort. They don't want to be pulling out the same gravel they put in the ground, a year ago. Well, so that's disappointing. Yeah. Well,
and we heard last year Vanessa had said that the entire area is like Swiss cheese, right? Mm-hmm. And we can all do as much as we want to stabilize it. how far is H8 from RF1? I was trying to find that information, and I couldn't find a map of where, like, it would be circulating back through.
I don't know, but I'm going to guess 10 feet. I'm going to go with the Steve Guptill 10 feet. The Guptill guarantee of 10 feet.
10-foot Guptill guarantee.
Well, okay, so they said that, later on when they're doing the talking in the war room, the toonie.
Yes.
We'll get to the toonie, but this is the toonie.
Oh, man.
He drops it into H8, and they found it 10 feet away, so 10-ish feet.
Oh, I can't get, wait, man, it is early, I guess, for me to be talking. I cannot wait to get talking about the war room and all the stuff
we
there.
Will get there. Let's take the small steps before we take the giant leap, okay?
Fine.
All right.
Crawl before you can walk. I get it. Okay, so let's see here. Where was I?
Well, so we had, we're talking about H8 and talking about the fill, the gravel they put in there. Vanessa joined Craig, and he shows her that backfill and says, "This looks serious," and or that's what she said. And then Craig said, "Yeah, and this is falling in from H8, and he's afraid of another cave-in, like last year." And Rick is over there too, and he asked Vanessa for the depth, and she says 302 feet 2 inches at that point.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
And 302?
No, did I say 302?
Yeah.
203.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 203 feet 2 inches.
I was gonna say, where are we going? Like, yikes.
Dig into China, right? No. All right. Rick says that what's happening deep in the money pit is dangerous, and the materials are moving rapidly and aggressively. And so then we got Billy and Gary. They come and join them, right?
Yes. Billy sighting.
Oh. Okay, I thought you had more to say than just Billy sighting.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
All right. Rick asks Vanessa what's next on the plan. Safety needs to be paramount. She's concerned about the backfill coming up, obviously, and she kind of, says, I got to do an all shutdown here.
Yeah, this isn't all stop. This is serious business. When you start getting backfill like that, and especially since last year, we saw, something pretty drastic happen. I think this just really goes to show how unstable that area is now after all the work that's been done between, the pumping of the water. We're always putting down micro boreholes, and then we're putting down these large caissons.
Swiss
cheese. But there's not a lot of cheese left anymore. And it's
they're
hard.
looking for the main cheese, the big cheese.
Exactly. Yeah. And I could put shredded cheese in the holes and try to squish it, but it's not going to stick the same because it's not the same Swiss. Yeah. It's not the same cheese. This is a problem.
Well, they're going to have to
step up the game
in the money pit. Yeah, we'll talk about that later too. That's gonna be pretty exciting stuff. And this is kind of like done with the money pit for the year though. At this point.
Yeah, this is done for the year.
Okay, so poor Vanessa. Didn't she look crushed?
She did.
She looked like she, there might be a tear forming. I felt her pain. I felt.
We all felt what she was feeling.
They felt like they were literally inches, feet to inches away from finding something.
Well, we had a creative idea. Well, Vanessa had a creative idea, so we could get past this.
Yeah, and it worked.
That's exciting. So you're riding this roller coaster. Oh, man, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty sad. I felt so bad for her. I felt bad for Rick. I felt bad for Marty and Craig.
I felt bad for me.
Billy's like, Billy's like, I'll keep working.
No, Billy shows up on the weekends.
Yeah, he's going to show up on the weekends, just get it done.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Clotworthy was saying that they could just be a few feet away, and Marty says it's frustrating that they didn't get that last 10 feet from RF1. But, I don't know, Rick thanks Vanessa and ROC Equipment and Mike Jardine and Irving Equipment Limited for their hard work in helping to try to solve this mystery.
Yep.
And that's kind of the end.
Really the Money Pit wrap-up.
Money Pit wrap-up for...
the Money Pit wrap. Yeah, I'm seeing something fun.
So Deidre and I are fairly creative people, so...
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. We're gonna do it. Sorry. I just have, before the podcast started, I have like different 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s different, like, and even 2000s theme shows going through my head because we...
Because there's something in the mix, maybe.
Yeah, so, well, you know that we do these videos on occasion. Like last year we did a Oak Island mashup with Full House, right?
2 years ago. Because I guess this year is...
Okay, well...
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, it's all right. So that was like 2018. Or was it 19? I don't know.
18.
Actually, I think it was at the beginning of 2019, I think it was.
Whatever.
All right, so, and then this year, Deidre put out a video that she made of Oak Island and Friends. And that video's got like almost 45,000 views now.
It
pretty good.
Smile.
It's pretty good. Yeah, so anyway, those videos have been put out, and then we have another one in the works, so something to look forward to, y'all.
Yep.
And it's just like all these theme songs are going through my head still.
We're brainstorming.
Yeah. Well, we got one picked, so. Anyway, anywho.
Let's go to our next location and follow the timeline, because right now you're off the timeline, yo.
Okay, so Smith's Cove, right? Oh wait, no, Smith's Cove this episode.
You're so funny.
All right, so where do we go then?
The swamp.
Yeah, the third of the big three. Might be the number one of the big three.
Oh, well, right now.
So much going on in the swamp.
Oh, man. So we got Rick, Marty, Gary, Billy. Everybody's hanging out at the swamp, doing swampy things.
In the paved stone area, right?
Oh, man, the paved stone area.
That's been just the gift that keeps giving.
Yes.
It really
has.
has.
Growing.
Like, at the beginning of the season, we had no idea that was going to be a thing, and it became such a focal point.
Whoa, wait. It's the gift that keeps on giving because it was found season 1.
Yeah.
Episode 3 or something. And good job, Tony. Good
job, Tony. And then he found it again this year.
Yeah, and it just keeps getting refound.
Tony Sampson is the finder.
Tony's paved area. Tony's parking lot. So it was found back in season 1. And then, we keep coming back. There's been other times where we're like, what is this? This is weird. And then Gary picks stones up earlier in the season, and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. That's literally the gift that keeps giving and keeps growing.
It is, and by the time we get to the war room, we have Mr. Steve Guptill telling us some more reliable dimensions of it, and it's just epic. Yeah, it's epic.
Steve will share.
It's just like it literally is the gift that keeps giving all the way basically from the beginning of season 7 to the end.
So anyways, in the swamp, we get a mini swamp recap from Sir Robert Clotworthy. We get the animation of the burning ship, which is one of my favorites.
Well, it's or galleon. You might call it a galleon.
I might call it a boat,
well,
but
he said ship or galleon. Yeah. He wanted to just make sure that we
understood.
Maybe connected it to that era as well.
Okay, well, here's the thing. There's an animation. I'll connect it. I got this. I can see it's on fire. It fell over and burned, and then we hide the ship. Anyways, so he's pointing out... wait a second. Okay, so we get a swamp recap. He even points out the eye, the circular formation.
And it may date back to the 1600s.
Yes.
The eye itself.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a long time before the discovery of the money pit. So, I mean, anything prior to that 1795 date is of note.
Yeah, so they're all out there working, and then, dun dun dun, interstage, right, Doug and Spooner join.
Swamplestiltskin?
Swamplestiltskin, yeah. King of the Swamp, or...
King of the Swamp, that's Tony. He wasn't there.
Nah, he's Lord.
Well, Lord of the Swamp and Seas, yeah.
That's true.
So, we had the Swamp Doctor.
Yes.
How about that? Yeah. And so he's back, and he says, guys, like he's excited. He's like, guys, I got new data for you.
And Doug's got a grin on his face, like...
Yeah, Doug knew what was up.
Doug knows everything.
He briefed Doug.
Oh, totally.
Doug's like, I'm not letting you on this island until you show me that paper. I gotta know. I gotta know first.
He's standing at the causeway.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that is funny. All right, so yeah, Marty says that there's
Mighty
also
Marty.
Mighty Marty says that Oh, we haven't done Marty's superhero card yet.
Mighty Marty.
Yeah.
It's like Mighty Mouse, but a Marty.
Yeah. Man, maybe you should put his head on a Mighty Mouse body, kind of looking. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's terrifying.
All right. So Mighty Marty says that there's all sorts of data piling up that the swamp was used as some sort of wharf or shipping or docking area in the past, and maybe that's what this paved stone area was for. He notes that something happened here. He wants to know what.
And he's the data guy, right? Like it's a prove it.
Prove it to me. Give me some hard facts, hard numbers.
And he shows up with hard numbers.
That's what Dr. Spooner does.
Right before they cut to commercial and tell us afterwards. Okay, dates.
I don't read the chat very much during the live podcast, but we have Booze and Bourbon in the chat. Hi, Booze and Bourbon.
Hey.
They said Mighty Marty sounds like a great card.
I concur.
Yeah. All right. So go listen to Booze and Bourbon, you guys. All right. So Clotworthy then does his Dr. Spooner recap, another one. And then Dr. Spooner says that the paved area was a disturbed area, disturbed by humans. He's pointing that out. He's making that a point. And he says that the dates, he tells the dates to Rick, and Rick is wowed. He's
gobsmacked.
There you go.
The look on his face is pretty good. So he says they're around 1200 AD.
And that's just mind-blowing. And that's where, Marty says... He elbows Gary and he's like, medieval.
Medieval, baby.
Yeah. So medieval period is anywhere between basically 400 AD and 1400 AD. And so, 1200 is definitely within that range. It's at the later end, but hey, it's medieval, baby.
Heck yeah.
Those numbers.
Get, medieval or not.
Yeah, the numbers are medieval.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's mind-blowing kind of because nobody expected that. Nobody.
No, and to see it come back with such hard data, right? And then I don't remember what the percentages were on it, but they were really high. I took a screenshot. I took a lot of screenshots.
All right. So Gary had that big grin and they giggled about medieval, but it's with 95.4% certainty from the carbon testing data of 1022 to 1218. So they went ahead and what they said was the high end, like the youngest end of that timeline. But I mean, it could have been the year 1022. It could have been the year 1100. That's why when we see their timeline in the war room, it legit goes all the way back to 1100. I mean, that's insane that you think that people, possibly Europeans, were on Oak Island.
Anybody.
Well,
but
there could have been natives on Oak Island doing, stuff, but they're not gonna. I don't think they're, building a wharf or whatever the paved stone area ended up being.
Don't doubt people.
Don't doubt them, but who knows? Yeah.
Know what happens when you assume? I'm just saying.
Yeah. So again, Marty says that he is gobsmacked by this data. And he's a numbers guy, and he just can't fit that into anything that he didn't know, or he didn't know what to make of it. That's basically it, know?
Well, and then we get, the little interviews, the, side ones that Rick and Marty. And Marty goes on, he starts to talk about how we have potentially two stories here, right? The Money Pit story and the Swamp story. And Rick hopes they're related, but at this point, it is hard to put them together. Is there something connecting them or not? It's just, this whole thing started in the Money Pit, right? And then it's just kind of continued to grow and grow and grow. And then are we at two different time periods? Did they bury in the Money Pit because something that happened in the swamp, many years ago?
It's really hard to know.
It is, because my crystal ball's broken. I can't see the future or the past, actually.
But they're going to keep looking.
Yep.
So that's the benefit of the whole thing for us, right?
Yeah, at least I hope so.
We hope to get some kind of answers and closure by the end of the series, right? But we'll see. Yeah, so basically Marty says, he says it's unbelievable, and that when you have this much data to kick around, that's so awe-inspiring, Then they, they need to go to the war room to discuss it with the team, and so they go figure it out.
It is time for that final war room of the season, and we are transitioning over there. There's so much data that's going to be shared.
Man, you look really
We're
excited.
going to collaborate. Well, I love this shot of everybody like coming to the war room, right? You see them coming from all parts of the island. You see Billy's truck pull up.
Wow, man. I don't think I've ever seen you this excited on our anniversary. Wow, she's just like, she is just...
It's an iconic moment.
Wow, yeah, it is. It is.
Right? It's been a really awesome season. We have got a lot of information. A lot of things have been found. A lot of information's been gained. We know it's late in the year. It's just, as we've always said, it is about the fellowship and the people. So kind of that
the
final
Island family.
Yeah. You know, this kind of final moment of everybody coming together, funneling their way into the war room.
It's Christmas on Oak Island. I was going to say Thanksgiving because, they're all gathered around a table. But no, it's more Christmas because they have, like, gifts to give each other, like knowledge gifts.
Oh, I was like, really?
And the timeline.
I mean, I guess...
Charles gave them the timeline.
He did. Per Rick and Marty have asked Charles, speaking of. So everybody comes in. Charles is already there, right?
He is, but there's one thing I need to recognize
I'm sorry.
before we get to Charles.
I'll let you recognize.
Billy got a haircut.
He did.
That's it. And
He's
looking sharp.
He is
He's
looking sharp.
good.
He's like, I'm going to be in the war room. I got to look good.
Yeah, well, he looked great. All right, so yeah, Charles set up that timeline on the table, and it showcases the finds from this season and other notable finds from all over the island for the, from the many years that they've been doing the searching. And there is a red line on the timeline. That's the point where they wanted to find stuff prior to that line. That would be the 1795 line.
Yep.
And Rick, or I guess, what was it? Marty said that he really didn't expect to find anything prior to that red line when they first started their Oak Island journey.
Oh, yeah. What was it? Episode 1, they're opening up, and episode 1, season 1, Rick and Marty are driving in, and they're, like, discussing what would be good enough, like, as far as a time period, if they found something with a date, that it would be worth continuing to pursue. Let me tell you, it was a lot later in what they're finding.
A lot older. So do you want to hear what the different points of the timeline said?
Sure. Because
I wrote them all down. All right, so we had the red line separating 1795, before 1795, and after 1795.
Okay.
So instead of like BC, should it be before BMP, before Money Pit, after AMP?
Okay.
Never mind. All right. So they had at the far end toward where Charles was sitting, where Doug was sitting, we had the 1100s.
Yes.
All right. So there's a wood log on the table for the 1100s. And underneath the number, it says Templar Exploration. So
that's just trying to give us some historical context, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then we had the 1200s, and there's a wood branch on the table, and it says Norseman Exploration. So Vikings. Well, remember that stone that Tori found? Could be a Viking stone.
Could also just be like a mantle stone. But we also know, who was it? Laird that mentioned that we have is it a Viking village in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, something like that.
Not too far away. I mean...
Yeah, something like that. All right, then we had the 1300s.
Okay.
The Order of Christ. And on the table next to that sign, or to that spot, we see Drayton's Cross and coconut fiber.
Coconut fiber? Could it be?
It could be. And it was. All right, so then we had the 1400s, and that was the Portuguese exploration time period.
Okay.
And that's where we see some swages, chisels, and tunneling equipment. What was happening on Oak Island in the 1400s before, Columbus even did his sailing, and discovered, well, not America, but, the Caribbean islands, right?
Well, you know what? Something important.
Something was happening.
This history is being rewritten here.
Yeah. So then we had 1500s, and that's the French exploration time period.
Okay.
Then we had the 1600s, and that was the Rosicrucians and Francis Bacon.
Okay.
And that's where we see the garnet brooch.
Okay.
That, is the Bobby Dazzler that Gary found in season 6. Or was it season 5? No, season 6, I think. Then we had 1700s, and that's the age of piracy. That's where Gary expected all of the finds to come from.
Yeah, which I thought was really interesting.
He wasn't expecting to see anything prior to that line.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's where we have some various coins and buttons.
Okay.
You're not going to say buttons like Gary?
Buttons? My accents broke.
That's fine. It was never.
It was never
good.
Good.
It was never worked. It never worked. Whatever. All right. So then we have the red line, the 1795 line, with various coins, and there was square cut nails in that, and then that's that time period says it's around the crown jewel theory, like Marie Antoinette. That's in that era, and then after the red line it says 1900s and 2000s. That's the searcher area, and that's the era we're still in.
Yes, good job.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
So that was a lot of points to cover.
It was. So Marty explains that when he first came into the island, much like we already said, that they didn't think there was a good chance they'd find anything prior to that 1795 line, and he is impressed with the data that they've collected.
Well, and Dave is just kind of like, it's amazing that we're looking at not just like we're looking at 100-year increments. It's not like we're just looking at this really small time period. It's a really wide range that they're finding stuff from. I mean, the sheer amount of stuff that they have before the 1700s in like that front part of the timeline is really amazing to him, to Marty, to everybody else. Just
it's amazing
wow.
that it survived too.
Yes.
Like, one of the other finds they found this year, so I think it was by one of the metal tunneling pickaxes that they found near the eye of the swamp.
Yeah.
It looked like a shovel head, but Carmen Legg said it's probably like some kind of patch or something, a metal patch. But did you see how like deteriorated that was?
Yeah.
So it's amazing that any of this stuff actually even survived.
Yeah.
And we're lucky that it did.
Yeah.
Because
I would agree.
It has a story to tell. And Rick wishes that the artifacts could talk.
Don't we all?
Even though they're not like talking out loud, they are saying something sitting on that table.
Well, thanks to modern science, right?
Yep. All right, so Gary chimes in about the data recently received from the swamp doctor, Dr. Spooner, and it says that the swamp is dated to the 1200s, and since the cross is dated to the 1300s, are they surprised that the swamp could be dated to the 1200s? And Marty...
Craig, yes.
Yeah, Marty and Craig, yes, we are very surprised.
We're still very surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, Gary's like, nope.
Gary's like, the kid was like, well, I'm not surprised. Yeah. I'm not leaving.
Yeah, well, he's like, they got this artifact, and it tells them, it tells them about that time period. So he's not surprised whatsoever. And, I was surprised. That's much older than I thought we'd find anything on Oak Island.
Well, yeah.
I mean, maybe I was kind of with Gary a little bit. I've always had the Templar hope.
Well, we all have,
and I still hope. But it's like, hey, that could 5% of my brain says that's what happened. And that's not very big. But man, this leads some credence to that.
Well,
or at least the time period.
We've talked about the fact of how old the cross is, and it's very, is it something someone's hung on to for a long time? It fell out of their pocket when they were, getting out of their boat. Is it something just because we know when that particular piece of metal was mined doesn't mean we necessarily know when it was made, when it was transported. I mean, how many artifacts are passed down over the years, or even tools? Like,
many.
Do you inherit your father's trade tools when they pass away, or what? Like that type of stuff. So even though the cross is super old, doesn't necessarily mean anything, right?
It could have been dropped in 1800. It could have been dropped in 1300.
Could have been dropped the day before.
No, they said no. It couldn't have, because no, people that were looking at it said something like I think when they're doing the laser ablation test, Dr. McFarlane, I think he said that it had, this shows signs of being in the ground for more than 10 years, plus a lot.
Maybe they buried it, put it in their pocket.
Dan Blankenship?
No, just a random seagull. I don't know. So yeah, I'm just saying.
Seagulls are known for burying stuff, sure.
they are. They have trowels. Wait, I think I have something for that.
Do you want a trowel?
You're gonna... Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, hey, I just glanced up at the chat, and Patricia, hi Patricia, she says that I feel like there's going to be a test on this on Friday's trivia.
Ooh, I didn't think about that. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about that real quick. If you're not aware, we do Friday Oak Island trivia every single week on our Facebook page, and that's facebook.com/OakIslandPodcast. And that's at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I guess that'd be 9 p.m. if you're over in Nova Scotia, in Atlantic time zone. But so it's pretty late over there, but I mean, it's what we can do here.
Still a good time had for now.
We're on the West Coast. So anyway, if you would like to join us, please do. It's a lot of fun. We got, dozens of people to play, and we got 10 winners every week. So I'll probably bring it up again at the end of the podcast, but yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Patricia, and you never know.
Okay, and now getting back to what we were saying with the Templars. Yeah. I mean, Jack states he's always been a big Templar guy. Like, he thinks this would be really useful to them, and that this location makes sense, and classic, enthusiastic Jack, right?
Jack attack.
And then he goes on to kind of lead us into the paved stone area. Like, dude, that's a big deal, right? And Steve tells us about the stone area. So hang on. We're going to hear from Steve.
Ooh, let's hear it.
We have a massive paved area.
The paved area is far bigger than what I've even shown you guys. So
Why do you say that?
I can tell you now, based on just the strategic digs that we've done, the paved area I checked before we came in here is 80 by 170 feet.
Really?
Yeah. And when you connect the dots, they form an 80 by 170 foot, not a perfect rectangle, but...
It's almost half an acre.
Almost half an acre. I just want to put that in perspective.
Wow, I didn't know you were going to be using clips like that.
Oh, I got some good ones.
Good, sweet, that's cool. Yeah, so yeah, when I'm thinking about that size, I think I close my eyes and squint up and look up at the sky, kind of like Mr. Steve Guptill.
You could see him calculating.
You could see him calculating his head. So in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, so 80 feet by 170 feet. And I think about the size of a football field. So a football field is about 300 feet long. So it's just over half of the length of a football field. And then how wide is a football field? Like 50 yards? 50?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like 150 feet wide. So it's about half of the width of the football field. So it's a little bit bigger than like a quarter of a football field. I'm sorry I think our Canadian listeners have the Canadian Football League. They know
what football is.
Yeah. So like a quarter the size of a soccer pitch, if you're not familiar with the American football like field sizes. But that's how I think of it, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's pretty darn big. Like what was that used for?
Well,
what the heck?
I think about the fact that like a half an acre lot, that's a very desirable lot size in real estate. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really nice size lot. And I'm thinking back going, wait, and then when was it created? They went through that much work. It's a level, that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Back when you had like really crude tools,
exactly.
primitive equipment.
And think about like how the stones were laid in there, right? It's not like you just were taking stones that were laid around the island.
They did it for a purpose. Like, what was that purpose? We don't know, but keep digging. As Robert Clotworthy would say, Rick and Marty Lagina, keep digging.
It's for treasure, or it's, you know, we agree that everybody agrees that it was an open channel, right? Maybe not all the way through. Spooner talks about, and Steve talks about how the front would have been open and maybe ships were coming in and out, loading, offloading. We know that I want to say, I keep wanting to call them wheelbarrows. Well, like the carts that they had.
Yeah, the big carts with the giant wheels. Yeah.
It makes perfect sense for that time.
Yeah.
Right? It's just...
It's just crazy. Yeah, like when they were at that fortress in Lewisburg and seeing, you know, checking out those old tools, you know, basically the big cart with the wheels. Yeah. Yeah, man, it's kind of mind-blowing. Like in that Lewisburg, I mean, those carts that would be on display there would be much older than 1200 too. Or like, not older, newer.
Yeah. Like
those would have been from the 1600s or whatever, you know. We're talking about 1200s, and we're talking about, like, I don't know, it's mind-blowing what was accomplished at the swamp back in 10, 11, or 12, or 1300, or whenever it was, you know? It's crazy.
It is, and even, I mean, Laird's impressed by Dr. Spooner's data, and Marty is shocked that Laird's impressed.
So impressed.
And he even comes back with, here was one of my favorites.
Oh, another.
You can't dispute it. It's not disputable.
I'm just going to play that every time that you try to argue with me. And I was like, ooh, Laird's on my side. It's not disputable. Like, for someone that is that much of a hard data guy, if he is saying...
That wowed Marty. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
he's like, whoa.
And even Terry was like, that's...
You can't dispute the hard evidence like that, and that's what he's trying to put across. And you know what? I mean, just whoa. Whoa.
When even #Team Data is saying it's a thing. It's a thing. If you all agree, it's a thing.
Yeah. Well, it's just something you can't dispute, like you were saying. Marty's wowed. Laird finishes it by saying that the last thing he would have expected to see in the swamp, that was the last thing he expected to see in the swamp. And to have him say that made Marty just cut in. And he says, it's not just you. We have Dr. Spooner. We got Terry. You know, we got all these experts saying, like, something crazy happened out there a long, long time ago. So, I mean, that gets your attention.
It sure does. And Tom Nolan's feeling pretty good about that.
Man, he's looking real smug. You know, he's like, told you guys.
Told you so.
My dad was right.
Right? And he says to Marty, I know you weren't the biggest fan of the swamp at the beginning of this year. And Marty's like, I'm still not a big fan of the swamp. And just to be clear, I haven't become a fan of the swamp.
Yeah, Tom goes on to say that something happened there. Man had a hand in that swamp. He's, you know, like literally in my notes, I put he's gloating and he's smirking. And Tom asks Marty what he thinks now, and Marty points to the 1200 evidence, and to someone as hard to move as Laird, you know, saying it was man-made, and other experts agreeing. It's just amazing that that you were right, Tom. Yeah.
It's there's
and that Rick was
positive. Right. I mean, it's got to be one of the hardest places to do exploration on the island is the swamp, right?
Oh yeah. Well, it's nasty.
It is.
It's a bog.
It's a swamp.
Yeah,
like
it's not easy. You don't just stick a shovel on the ground. Right?
I mean, you can, but you're not going very far.
Yeah. And so one thing that I thought was funny right there was you know, they acknowledge that there are answers in the swamp, but we just don't know what the questions are.
Yeah, that was classic Oak Island. Classic.
Yeah. Tom says that it's just nice to see all of Dad's work wasn't for nothing, you know, Fred Nolan. And he's not sure if the money pit and the bog are tied together, but something happened there a long time ago. Maybe it does tie the whole thing together.
And a big, pretty bow. Or, hey, maybe we have two stories here.
That's just mind-boggling. It really is.
I mean,
there's more than two stories.
I don't know. I was just kicking around the idea of this, like, was the money pit created and chosen to be made in this location because of legends or stories or whatever that were passed down
from this era?
from this era
Yeah.
because we heard about these things, which actually took place in the swamp, and then so it made sense to come to this island to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there, maybe the money pit exists because the swamp exists.
Existed.
Existed.
Yeah.
Or because the swamp was created, or because it was just because it's so old, right?
Yeah, well, that's something that Jack notes. He
Mm-hmm.
says that much of the work occurred on Oak Island in 2 clumps of time. Mm-hmm. You have the 1600s, and that fits with the Francis Bacon and Rosicrucians.
Yep.
And then you have the 11 to 1400s, and that fits with the Templar theories.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the dendrochronology data that says that people were doing work in the slipway area before searchers were there in 1741 and 1749, or 1769. Those are the dates from the slipway. Mm-hmm. And Craig notes that the structure was being used for a very long time. So what was it used for? Was it used for finding treasure? They don't know. But like you were saying, the 2 time periods, like kind of Jack's saying here, is there 2 stories?
Or do they domino?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, do they? I like how you're bringing that up. I kind of got away from it a little bit there reading my notes, but I like how you're suggesting maybe there was an old legend and they built upon that legend. That's pretty cool. I'd love to think that that's a real thing.
It could. I mean, what if it was? Why choose this particular island?
Yeah.
And but why? Right?
Why?
For me, it's always let's get to the why. As humans, we all have a why.
We're very curious, right?
We want to often live our life for our why, whatever it is, our passion, what drives us, and maybe it is those who buried at the money pit or within that area was just because there was a why before.
Yeah. Could be.
And that could explain, that gap of time.
Could it be? Mm-hmm. That's what Anne Marie asks in the chat.
It could be.
Could it be?
That's why we're here, to find out.
Yeah. Well, we're really here not to find out. We're here to just watch it pan out.
We are.
We're here to root the team
Well, we're
on.
here to learn from them. We're
As
here
much
to
as you-
root them on and support.
As much as you want to work on the island, sorry, you've never been there.
I know. I was supposed to be there and back already.
I know. That's okay.
It is what it is.
It is what
We'll
it
get
is.
there eventually.
All right, so one other thing. Marty asks Gary if he thinks that the tunneling occurred outside of the money pit area. And Gary says yes. Why else would you find pickaxes and whatever at the back of the swamp and swages on Lot 21? They're pushing the story back further than he ever thought. Like we said, he thought it was a pirate operation. Yeah, I mean, it's curious that they found all those artifacts like in the swamp and stuff, but, it could have been dropped there anytime, realistically. But, I mean, maybe that's, they were done tunneling and the guy left his pickaxe there and it just never got picked up, right?
Or they're like, well, we can't take this on the boat home with us.
Yeah,
it causes weight.
True.
Yoink. They ain't gonna find it in here, or the next person. Nobody's looking out here. The next person that does is someone that we want here. Maybe they'll need an axe to get into where they're going. I'll
Perhaps.
just leave them a tool so they
Perhaps.
can make that happen.
Very true.
What's the why?
All right. Well, Doug notes that it was supposed to be an uninhabited island before 1795.
Wrong.
So this changes history as they know it about the island.
Which is crazy.
That's a big deal. All right. The timeline says that there's a story there, and activity occurred much earlier, possibly on a continuous basis by the same group, or maybe even not. He says that every theorist can be happy with something on this timeline because there's something there that backs up their claims.
There's something for everybody, right? And I think there's pros and cons to that, naturally, right?
Yeah.
Because it's important as treasure hunters and people that are just trying to figure out this puzzle that we don't just pick and choose. However, if there are 2 different stories going on here, we need to see how certain sections of those stories could potentially fit together.
Yeah.
Right? So those 2 different chunks of time, one, how it all relates to each other, the other, how it all relates to each other, and then whether or not it even ties together. But it's dangerous to be able to just pick something to create your theory off of, but it's bananas that there is something here for everybody.
Yep, even Marty says that he thinks that that's probably right, and all the prevailing theories are enhanced by this timeline. Mm-hmm. And Dave is like, yeah, that's right. You know, He was quick to chime in. I think Dave's always really excited about anything that proves, the whole thing's basically not a waste of time, right?
Yeah,
and
positive.
All of this stuff shows that this stuff, all this exploration, definitely not a waste of anybody's time.
Absolutely not. Not a waste of my time.
Yeah.
And I'm spending, obviously, a lot of extra time on it.
Yeah, well, I just think that he, doesn't want nothing to be found because his dad spent so much of his life there, poured so much of his heart and soul into Oak Island. Yeah, and I just think that, just seeing all those artifacts that date back so long ago, I mean, it just proves that his dad and Fred Nolan, they were there for a purpose, and it's a good thing they never stopped believing.
Yeah.
Because if they did, and the mystery kind of faded out and died, I mean, we wouldn't have this awesome show to talk about, but we wouldn't have all these breakthroughs and all this history to talk about.
Exactly. And, Tom kind of says that a little bit later in the war room of, it's so nice seeing all of this hard work and these years of labor that, they had put in hasn't gone to waste. Yeah. And I'd say Tom and Dave agree on that.
Absolutely, for sure. All right. Then Gary also notes the cutting tools, and he points to the chisel. He points to that, there's a couple chisels on the table. And, he just noted that the theories are based off of things. A lot of the theories are based off of things carved in stone, and boom, look at that. There's stone cutting tools. So, I mean, that's pretty compelling. And that's when Marty says, hey, well, I got something else to show you.
On my notes, it says, Toonie time!
You know what's funny? I did not even see your notes. I'm looking at your notes now. I was not looking at your notes, and I was thinking to myself, oh, it's Toonie time. It makes sense.
Toonie time.
It is Toonie time. Yeah, so Marty pulls something out of his pocket, and Gary's like, yo, bro, that needs to go on the other side of the table, down towards the, past the red line.
He's all excited about it. Gary doesn't get excited about something.
Oh, but when he found that Toonie, he was not excited. He's like, meh, trash.
He's like, I'm going to get a soda with this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so Marty puts a coin on the table, a toonie, which is a Canadian $2 coin, and he puts. So, tell a story about the toonie, can you?
What do you mean?
How did what happened when they found it? Like, why was it there in the first place?
Yeah, we get kind of like the flashback, right?
Yeah.
Of when they find it, and that was this year. They're going through what spoils, the RF1 spoils, which is about the 200-foot spoils, right? And Gary's out there, he's metal detecting in the spoils. Gary's there. I just said Gary. Marty's there, and oh yay, we get a little boop 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 boop, and he pulls it up, and he's excited. He goes, "Aw, it's a toonie."
Oh, it's just a. What did he say? A flippin' toonie or something like that?
Yeah, I was gonna say bloody toonie.
Yeah,
but that didn't work.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, he's a little disappointed, but that gets overshadowed quickly, right?
Yeah, and Marty just says, just put it in your pocket, no big deal.
Move on with your life.
And then, not much later, you see the light bulb.
The wheels are turning.
Yeah, you hear say ding, and Marty goes, "Hey, Gary, let me see that toonie." And Gary's face.
Why?
It's modern, mate.
He's like, that's my toonie. That's gonna buy my Coke later
on. And he's just thinking like, why? He's like, I know, but just let me see it. And he's thinking, don't question me. And he talks about it being encrusted. Marty does, and he goes, "I think me and this toonie have been acquainted."
Well, the encrusted part tells him that, hey, this has been down in the ground for a very long time.
It wasn't just.
Yeah.
It didn't just fall out of someone's pocket
that day or something. Yeah, for sure.
And all of a sudden, you know, the wheels start turning, the dominoes start falling. I think that's my toonie.
Yeah, he says that's my toonie.
Yeah.
He realized, he's like, I know what.
Yeah.
This is what this is.
Mm-hmm. And Gary's like, what? It's that one?
Mm-hmm. So a question real quick. I don't remember how deep was borehole H8 when he put it in there. Do you have that in your notes?
No, I was actually trying to find that when I was going back through.
Something's telling me that it was 180 feet. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm remembering right, but I might not be remembering.
Okay,
right.
so let's say it was 180 feet, and they found it in the spoils at 200 feet.
Yeah.
And it had moved 10 feet.
Vertically. Or horizontally. 10 feet, what would that be? 20 feet vertically and 10 feet horizontally. Oh my gosh. This is insane. Like, literally, this is something I never, ever, ever would have expected about any of this stuff. I did not think that there was a solution channel. I did not think that there was anything that would be moving this stuff around down there. I thought it was going to be just, like, really solid or really muddy and thick that I wasn't expecting so much water. Mm-hmm. Right, so
but it makes sense now.
It does now, but like every time, like last season, they would show the can pushing things, like like the cans pushing Chapel Vault, right, down further, and I'm just
laugh.
I'm just like, whatever. This is so dumb. You know, I wasn't saying that out loud, but like in my brain, that's what I was thinking. Because I didn't want to like. I didn't want to speak ill of the work that they were doing and attempting, and it just seems so far-fetched. But now it's like, oh, well, maybe that's legit.
Oh, I have done a lot of reading and learning about these solution channels and some pondering. And, you know, when we were interviewing people, we asked them about the solution channel.
Yeah, like Laird and Steve in particular, right? And Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Steve, just by... he said sheer guessing from that it's probably 20 feet, maybe 30, because they could put a caisson right down in it. And I'm thinking, what? Because they don't know exactly how big it is, but that's probably, I mean, if let's say it's at 170 and then 200, I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then I was going back to season 5 and I was watching some episodes, trying to find some information, and I'm watching one of the Money Pit digs and with Terry out there, and they're talking about the solution channel there.
Are they?
They were. And you know what? I'm realizing further back, they've been talking about the solution channel for a long time, but I never made the connection of what that meant and what that really was.
I don't know that they really explained it that good until this year.
Maybe. And maybe they did. And, you know, you get so much information coming in from the show.
Yeah.
To really be able to wrap your mind around the science and what's going on there.
Yeah.
It's a lot, right?
It is a lot.
In order to really be able to follow along at that level. And it explains why you keep seeing, you know, so much water come up, right? And then we always just think flood tunnels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Versus the solution channel. And it's kind of crazy, but they had been talking about it for a long time.
It makes a lot of sense when you really think about it, but I wasn't thinking about that.
Oh, me either. I had like a aha on the finale, like we both did after watching it.
Yeah, well, and building up to it. You know, it's just like, because when they're talking about you know, the water moving with like the sluice way, you know, and stuff like that, it's just, it gets us to think about more broad ideas and different possibilities. It's just, I don't know, like I just wasn't understanding, I guess, what they were talking about.
Not fully, because, well, we're not geologists.
No, but, I mean, we pay good attention. I mean, we probably pay better attention than most people to everything that's happening on the show.
I would agree.
You know, but it seemed so far-fetched at the time, and now it doesn't seem far-fetched at all.
Oh, no, not at all.
So I'm glad that Marty did that experiment. Like, that has, I don't know if he's glad because it's going to cost him tens of millions of dollars, it seems
Most likely.
But, it's some impressive data, and it's just crazy that it happened the way it did, and that we have, that proof.
So in a solution channel, it's like a smallish river underground, right?
Yeah.
So you've got this horizontal movement, but it tends to occur in stone that's like porous or going to wear down really quickly, right? So limestone, which how many times have we heard Terry say, oh, limestone, like that has come up.
Yeah.
And we've heard about these tripped booby traps.
Yeah.
And we're also right on the water.
And it's all Swiss cheese.
Now, what I keep asking is, was one of these tripped water booby traps or whatever, or all of them, or the fact that they're on the ocean and the fact that it's limestone, is this a self-inflicted problem? And how long has it been?
Probably since the early 1800s or the 1800s, 1900s.
Okay.
It's probably not self-inflicted. Well, I mean, it's probably enhanced by the Michigan mob.
Yeah. Well, Terry goes on to say that with all the digging, with all the drilling, with all the banging, with all the pumping, think about it. We pumped water twice through everything, right, for the dye test.
Yep.
Okay? And then we also, it's just, we know when the flood tunnels were supposedly initially tripped, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying 1800s. So if the water has been in there banging against it for that long, that's a long time for it to get bigger and big. Because you haven't turned off the flood tunnel.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
So this water that's in there, and it moves really quickly. Like, it doesn't follow any of the normal laws to be able to guess how fast it's moving, to know how far something could be moving. So you've got this movement in here. You can't guess. There's literally a moving target underground.
That's a bummer. That's a real bummer for a treasure hunter.
It's especially if this one didn't start naturally and it's self-inflicted, and let's say you were depositing.
Yeah.
How are you gonna know that this could happen?
You're not going to know.
You're not gonna know.
You're not going to think anybody's going to know about your secret to begin with.
Yeah. And then you think the best way to booby trap it is with water from flood tunnels.
Well, it's like right there. They have unlimited supply of booby trap material with that water.
They don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
They don't know that, hey, this limestone here is going to be susceptible if it's trapped and cause this underground tide or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, ta-da!
Ta-da!
And Terry goes on to say that it is so different now than how it was any depositor, any original digging, the whole ground. It's nothing like what it would have been when you buried it.
Not even close.
There's no way it could be.
Yeah. Well, and then Terry also noted that the density of gold, because they're talking about how far that toonie traveled, and he says that the density of gold is 19 times greater than water, right? So gold's definitely just going to sink. 19 times and change, right? Make sure to point that out because he doesn't want his geology buddies to say, well, you didn't get it exactly.
And then the gravity and...
Yeah. All right, so... I mean, he's not surprised that there might have been a vertical movement in addition to the 10 feet of lateral movement. And that speaks to the currents down there. And like you said, the banging and, the pumping and all that.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's mind-blowing. I can't wait to see what they do next in that area. And, we'll get to that in a moment, what they talked about doing and what we hope they do. Yeah.
Well, and what Doug goes on to say is that in the money pit area, they've been looking for signs of like a deep collapse, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because we've heard of this deep collapse. Well, if the water's eroding away and we've got these shafts, and then all of a sudden it finally kind of gives way, the limestone or whatever it is, right? And we're finding signs of those deep collapses.
For sure.
And we've mostly been looking above 160 feet.
Yeah, and that
Or
might be a
right
problem now.
And so we know now, potentially, we really do need to be a lot deeper because of the change of the landscape.
So the Toonie may have done all that movement in 1 year and then settled. It may have still been moving.
Could have done
slowly.
it in a day.
It could have done it in a day. It could have been inching to that spot through to that day when it was recovered. So, I mean, dang, like, talk about maybe treasure vault that's really heavy, sinking through the sand and shifting, and that being like hundreds of years rather than 2 years. Where is that thing now?
And that's just
Maybe it might have moved all the way to the swamp, for all we know. I hope not.
But we have to think it's just going to continue to get deeper and deeper as the solution channel continues to erode away
And
at
get punctured
the
by all this
material.
Yeah.
But think about all the holes that have been drilled, and then we'd hit limestone or we'd hit whatever, and we stop.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't deep enough.
It's tough to know.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh man. Marty asks the Fellowship, even after seeing old recovery tools like we talked about earlier, like the pickaxe and all that, if it's even worth continuing to pursue here, or do we think this treasure's already been collected if there was a treasure here?
Doug's like, no, it's there. There's treasure here. Then it shows Gary and Charles quickly agreeing.
And Charles, he chimes in saying he agrees with Doug.
Yeah.
We have a new mystery here. We have a new mystery here to discover. But yes, there is treasure here. You just haven't found it yet. But it's here.
It's there.
We agree.
We also had Paul and Scott, definitely shaking their heads like,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
They all agree.
Definitely still treasure yet to be found. Yeah, Dave says that he believes it's still there, and so did his dad. And then, I mean, they're all in agreement. They're mostly. Do you think Marty's in agreement, or is he just wanting support for his own idea or for his own thinking about it all?
I think Marty, because we know, like, he goes on to state that where his thought is about the treasure, right? Coming on initially, he didn't think there was anything here.
Yeah.
Or it was long gone. And he was just kind of along for the ride. But he has continued to, just like Rick and Craig, that it's about the team. What does this collection of experts think? If they still believe something's here and there's proof, someone like Laird says it's undisputable.
He doesn't say that there's treasure there. Laird says that something happened there, and that's undisputable.
Yes.
And that's worth figuring out.
And that's just it. I think he kind of hit the nail on the head there.
As an archaeologist, and, he's I don't know. He wants to know what happened, right? He just wants that information, that data. Yeah. Dave says that they're running out of real estate, so that he said that that's a good thing because it gives them less places to check, possibly. And no, not that kind of real estate. And in some places, it just gives them different areas to focus on. But Marty replied that they're perhaps running out of time and money too. But Tom says that they, based on some of the things they found in the swamp this year, he acknowledged that most of everybody wants gold and whatnot, spendables, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Because he knows what Dave wants.
Yep.
But how do you put a price on something that changes or rewrites history? because what they found, the things that they found are very old and shouldn't be there. He goes on to say that his dad spent almost a lifetime on Oak Island looking for whatever it was, and so did Dan. And so for their sake, he'd like to think that there's still a treasure yet to be found.
Yeah, and it's true. And yeah, you can't put a price on history, but you can. How many people went bankrupt trying to find this? Okay, so Marty's thinking, I don't want to go bankrupt. And I don't blame him. He's, a smart financial businessman. I'm sure they have a budget they have to adhere to every year or something.
Sure.
I mean, that's how you don't go bankrupt on Oak Island. So, you got to have your experts, but you also got to, have some lines to stay within.
Yeah, but Rick, his big brother, is always there to help him step over those lines. He wants to nudge him over the lines.
And to defend his thoughts. He's being, I think Rick is also very smart about that. So Rick asks Dan Henske's opinion.
Yeah, well, that was a funny moment.
That was great.
Yeah, so what does he say? He says he can't say definitively that there's still treasure, and Marty asks him to give him the odds of treasure still being there.
And Dan says, I'm an odd guy, but not an odds guy. That was amazing. That's like good. Dan Henske motto or something.
I like Dan. He's funny.
Oh, he's good.
He's great.
I love it.
Yeah, so so he's not going to put a number on it, but he says that, hey, just getting together and seeing you guys next year is worth it to me. And so Marty's like, well, I guess I'll take that. I guess I'll take that.
He has spoken.
He can live with that.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's see here. We get one of those interviews where it's like Rick and Marty, and Rick's saying that it's one thing to look at everything according to dates, but think about what happened during those time periods.
Yes.
And putting it in context. Kind of like when you went through and you were talking about, what all the different things were, with the Templars and with, what was going on during the time in which these artifacts are from.
Yeah. Over the centuries, the major events that happened in the world. Craziness.
And Rick asks everybody in general if there are opportunities still to advance the search and kind of move the dial, whether it be, historical or treasure.
Yes.
And I think everybody agrees. And then Alex, hang on, I have a little Alex clip real quick.
Let's listen to Alex.
Well, this is going to shock you, but it's great. Super. I think, like Laird said, the potential for the paved area to be man-made in the swamp and date back to the 12 to 1400s. If we're going to do something in the swamp, that's a no-brainer. Looking for a smoking gun, actually confirming that that is what we think it might be, is potentially a big discovery.
Okay, so Alex feels like a real believer here, right? We know
he wasn't there before.
He wasn't there. I want you to listen to Alex, season 1, episode 1.
Okay.
And you tell me.
Here's where you're going to spend the rest of your summer. Hopefully not the rest of my life.
I'm sorry, Alex. It's looking like the rest of your life.
Yeah, unless they find it, then he could just be in charge of the museum, right?
Poor.
That's good. That's
I
really
can't. Hopefully not the rest of my... I'm sorry, Alex. You have been converted. We are through season 7.
Yep, you're all in,
You
dude.
want the data? I mean, you're kind of a mix of your dad and your uncle.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
And he kind of turned into Jack, too.
Seriously. He's kind of like a mixture of everybody, but I appreciate him bringing forward, the hard data. If Alex is saying, yeah, like, there's something here to pursue.
That makes his dad listen.
As the next generation, right?
As the next generation skeptic.
Exactly. Yep. And we have Jack, the next generation believer.
Yeah, we have. He's like, he's like Rick. And then Alex was like Marty, but not anymore. Now they're all turning into Ricks.
I don't think everybody's a Rick. There's no way everybody's a Rick.
Okay, so Laird isn't. Who else?
A lot of people.
All right.
But it just kind of cracked me up because we're sitting around the table and we keep getting these shots of Alex and Jack on the screen together. I'm like, this feels like a setup.
Maybe they need their own spin-off show.
Maybe.
That'd be fun.
Need to
I'd watch
challenge
it.
each other, and
Yeah.
Someone's got to tell Jack to calm down, and that'll be Alex, and then they'll get together and do something fantastic. But I think looking at the smoking gun, as he puts it, it's a big deal.
Yeah, so Alex is really interested in that swamp, and that's cool. Gary says that if you're going to find something in that area, from the paved area, it's going to be in the paved area toward the ocean and along the side of the island, because those are the potential loading zones. And Tom Nolan said that that's going to be the hardest part of the swamp to search and to get to, because, it's the deepest, and, but that might be why they used it. They might have used it because it is the deepest.
Well, and something that Gary has brought up in the past is that in Smith's Cove, it really bothered him that they really weren't finding artifacts or anything that would have fallen off people unloading and loading, right?
Yeah.
Because you would expect to find that around wharfs and slipways and
Yeah.
but he really wasn't.
Yeah, you would expect that, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe if these were all, if they were Knights Templars, maybe they were real military, buttoned up, and they're not going to just be dropping random things. Like, I don't know, when I walk on a wharf, when I walk on a wharf, I don't walk on dwarfs, okay? I like happy, sneezy, grumpy. I even like grumpy, like you. All right. So, like when I walk on like a dock or a wharf or something, nothing's ever fallen out of my pocket once that I know of.
I was going to say.
I'm pretty sure nothing's ever fallen out of.
How often are you unloading treasure chests?
Never,
and
never.
Things where you're doing this really
I know, but
physical
it just seems
stuff
like
from a boat. How often have you been on a wharf?
Very, very
Okay,
infrequently.
You probably could count on your hand.
I'm just talking. Okay, if I'm walking down the street, I'm not dropping random things on the ground.
Are you bending over and pushing and pulling and pushing carts of treasure, or?
I used to unload and unload airplanes, and that involved getting these huge containers off the airplane, pulling them down this roller system, and then getting a forklift and doing a whole bunch of stuff. I used to do that stuff, just off of a plane, and I can't recall ever dropping anything there either. But I mean, maybe I don't have all my possessions on me, probably like those people did at the time.
That's true, and they probably did. So
I don't know. I just I know Gary's point, but maybe they just didn't really drop anything. I don't know.
Okay. Gary's been doing this a while, and he's
that.
likely been looking around those areas because so many people drop things, right?
Yeah, but I think there's probably a little more buttoned up operation, if they've been entrusted with the Ark of the Covenant or something, you know what I mean?
Anyways, the point I was trying to get to is that if the loading and offloading area is actually potentially the swamp, then it would make sense that maybe he would find more there. I mean, early in the seasons, what about the Spanish coin? That was in the swamp, kind of towards that area, right? The stuff that's been found potentially would be there.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense to me.
I hear you. Yeah.
But that being said, Alex points out that this whole thing started with the money pit. But without any of these artifacts, nothing here says treasure, except for the collectiveness of the particular types of artifacts.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where we're getting kind of the proof. Can't walk away now.
Can't walk away now. Hey, so in the chat, our friend Jeff says that Jack and Alex can have their own show, Oak Island Junior, or Junior Oak Island. But that'd be cool. What if they brought kids on the island to do some digging?
I think that's child labor.
Whatever.
Oh.
All right, so that's when we get Billy saying that, hey, if you don't come and do this, I'm going to come down on the weekends and do it.
All right,
ya.
Billy. I'll meet you there.
Hey, we heard it straight from who was it? From Laird?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Billy is the first person on the island every day. Yeah, we knew that.
We know.
We know.
We know.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's going to make it happen if he's got the keys to the causeway, so.
He is the keys to the causeway. Gary's pointing out that just this toonie, and I think everybody is kind of coming to that moment, is that after seeing that in the movement, they're just chasing the they're literally chasing it. Like, it's not just the idea of chasing treasure in this metaphorical. They're actually chasing it, which means they're getting really close. We got to catch up.
Yeah. They think they're getting close, but every time they put a case on down there, they're shifting something. And, like, I did not think about that in those terms at all before this year.
Well, Marty is now.
Yeah, he definitely is. But it's just like, it's crazy that I don't know. It's just crazy.
It is. It's crazy. And I think that what Gary is saying, it opens up that conversation, which, like, Marty's kind of bummed about, is that, if they proceed in the money pit, it's not going to be cheap. If they're considering a big dig, it's not just millions. It's tens of millions. That's a very sobering number.
But, like, you see his brother next to him just saying, yep. Like,
and
I don't think he's as concerned. Oh, I don't think he's as concerned with the money. He's like, my brother's got it.
We know
Craig's got it.
Over the years, they've been researching the big dig, right? Because classic Oak Island is always going to throw something at you. So, yeah, we know it's going to be tens of millions, but you also have to have a contingency budget because something's going to go wrong. But as he says, the coin argues towards the big dig, and Jack wants to know how quickly they can do it.
And then he's like, oh.
It could take as long as 3 years. Wah, wah. Jack looks sad.
Well, maybe it won't take that long.
It could.
It could.
It could take longer. It's Oak Island.
Well, with the way things are right now, nobody from America can get to Oak Island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the big dig. We're here. Let's talk about it. I'm excited about the big dig.
Rick's got something to say.
What does he say?
He says that it's not something you enter into half-heartedly. You set foot on that field, you better bring your pads and you better buckle up.
You didn't get that clip?
No.
Wow.
I ran out of time.
Okay.
So, whoa.
Yeah, whoa. Whoa.
When Rick is like that.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, I think that's the best way of doing it just because you have the best chance of recovering everything in one piece.
How about just the fact that you have the best chance of recovering everything?
And finding it, yeah.
Because if we're literally chasing it in the solution channel, it feels like this is the only way.
Yeah.
We can't keep playing blindfold claw machine. And that's what's happening. We're shutting our eyes and we're doing it based off data, off of like the errors we've had in the past, but we can't do that anymore. Like, we've put too many holes in the cheese.
They have. Yeah, it's tough, but this big dig could solve a lot of problems. Could create more, who knows? But Clotworthy, he says that over the years, like you acknowledged earlier, the team has researched methods of digging a 100-foot wide hole to a depth of 250 feet deep. Mm-hmm. One method would be constructing a massive concrete shaft around the entire money pit area so that access to the vault would be unhampered by flooding. Another method, known as freeze ring method, would involve drilling dozens of 250-foot boreholes in a 100-foot wide circle. The holes would be filled with a chemical such as glycol and would freeze the ground and would allow for unfettered excavation. Big dig.
Whoa. Whoa.
So, which method do you like?
So I've gone back and forth, and I need to do more research, and it's not like they're going to weigh my opinion on what it is.
They might weigh mine.
I doubt it. I highly doubt it. We are not that important.
Well, wait until you hear what I have to say.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm leaning towards the freeze ring.
Okay. And why? Because it's
all
what Craig
the
wants?
Water.
Because it's what Craig wants?
No, because I feel like I'll feel better if I know everything's stopped, right? And
I can understand that.
like, because we know there's so much fluid there and having to deal with it, that's why I lean that way. But I don't know enough about it. I haven't spent years researching these methods.
Yeah. Okay, so you want to hear why...
Yeah, I feel like you're really trying to tee something up. Let's hear it.
All right, so I like the other method. Okay, I like the 100-foot wide hole to a depth of 250 feet deep.
Okay.
With the concrete shaft rings, right?
Okay.
Okay, so there's for whatever reasons they want to do either one. It's basically just to get to the bottom, to get to 250 feet deep, and to excavate the area. I mean, I think both would be fine, but I like the idea of the wall around the whole thing, because I think it can make a great tourist attraction once this is all said and done. Like, let's say they do find it, or let's say they don't find it. It doesn't matter. There's still going to be tours on Oak Island. What if, okay, so this is 100 feet wide. This is huge. What if they put an elevator in it, right, and allowed people to go down to 250 feet deep? You know, you pay $20 a person or whatever to go down to the bottom of the money pit. You could say that you were at the bottom of the money pit. I mean, I would pay that. I'd pay $50 to go down there. That'd be flipping sweet, wouldn't it?
Well, it's not to say you couldn't do the freeze ring method and then go in there properly to make a more permanent structure.
Sure.
Because even when you're using the concrete, it's not a permanent structure that you're putting in there, right? While 3 years, it's going to take a while, but it's going to take more than just leaving these concrete rings so that you can get to the bottom of the money pit. Not to mention that their permit, in order to retrieve, I mean, they do have to put it back to how it was, just like Smith's Cove.
Yeah,
so they're probably going to make them fill in the hole.
They may be able to get an exception. Who knows? Would you go down to the bottom of the money pit if it was a tourist attraction?
If I knew it was more of a permanent structure, yes, but classic Oak Island is like gonna kill me if I go in there.
You know what else would be kind of cool is if you're standing, like, let's say it's just a giant pit, but you know there's walls or whatever around it, so you can't just fall in, obviously, right? But let's just say that you can go up there with a coin and toss a coin in to the bottom of the money pit, and then every year at the end, like the end of the year or whatever, they collect all the coins and give them to charity or something.
You can only toss toonies in, though.
Well, whatever. Yeah, sure.
It costs a toonie to go in the money pit.
Yeah, you have to go and buy a toonie from the gift shop, and it's $3 to buy.
$3 to buy a toonie?
Yeah, and they're worth $2.
Yeah, I caught you the first time.
Whatever it takes to support, just...
Yes, this might be the only way that Marty's going to recover any money from the, like, tens of... Yeah.
It legit has to be a tourist attraction. It is already, but, I mean, it has to be, like... They have to have some, some rides. I'm thinking of it as a theme park suddenly.
Okay, see,
Oak Island theme park.
This is the problem. You and I see vacations very differently. All you want to do is, like, go to a theme park and I want a mojito and a lazy river.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. But
now, if they're going to make a lazy river on the island, we can talk.
Yeah, it's going to go in the swamp. They're going to turn the swamp into a lazy river.
That's smelly.
You don't care.
I do care.
Okay.
I do care.
You do care. Yeah, so anyway, what do you think about my idea, though, that they should put an elevator in there? Like, if they could, let's say it could happen. Let's say they dig the giant hole, they find it, or they don't find it. Hopefully they find it. They find some treasure down there, they recover it, they leave the hole, they put an elevator down, and then you could, maybe at the bottom, there's like a recreation, like we went to the Met, and they had the, that tomb that they brought over from Egypt, and you could walk through this Egyptian tomb. I mean, maybe they have like the casing or the whatever of the chapel vault. Maybe it's still intact, and you could go in and look, walk around it. There's probably nothing in it. It's probably just a box, right? But I mean, maybe they have fake gold and stuff down there. Say this is what it looked like when we recovered the treasure.
It's just a box with toonies in it.
Or the Ark of the Covenant.
Or that. Maybe the Ark of the Covenant is made of toonies.
Yeah, but would you go down there?
I would if I knew it was a permanent
Yeah,
structure.
I know.
Like,
Wouldn't that be
I've got
sweet?
concerns about a giant open hole
Okay, look.
that isn't
Oh my gosh.
intentionally made this
If it
way.
was-
I've got logistic questions.
If it was a tourist attraction made for people to go there, guess what? It's going to be safe. Okay.
Have you never, like, heard about people dying
Oh my
on
gosh.
roller coasters?
No, I have, but it doesn't. That come on. It's going to be one thing that they can really focus on, and they would make it perfect, and it would be a legit awesome tourist
Okay,
attraction.
if it was a legit thing, then yeah, of course I'm going to.
Good.
But
It'd be fun.
I mean, since I think that's what you want me to say right now.
Yeah, go 250 feet down in the money pit. That's a dream of mine, and I don't want to be John Chatterton to do it, or one of these other divers,
Oh man,
Mike Huntley. We know that he was on the island recently. What's he doing out there?
maybe he's diving
He's
to
diving.
the bottom of the money pit. I don't know.
Maybe.
Ask him.
So anyway, that's my idea, and that's a way for them to keep making money because if they build a big elevator, it's a 100-foot wide thing. They could have a pretty big like industrial sized elevator. They could take 20, 30 people down at once. $50 a pop. People do it. People jump at the chance. I got more
Okay.
ideas, guys. Call me if you're interested.
Please don't. You can call me and we'll be much more practical. I promise.
right.
So Rick states about the large commitment, financial, time, and resources.
Yes.
What does that mean? To me, that says they got to pick who they're keeping permanently for the next 3 years, and they're getting 3-year NDAs. And because
Yeah.
that is a huge time commitment and money commitment. Can you imagine if you signed on for a project like that and you had an NDA for only a year? Nope.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Isn't that why Steve's leaving the team?
Oh, shut up.
Just kidding. He's not going nowhere. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Oh man, if he doesn't show up next year, you're to blame. Oh my gosh.
No, come on. These guys are committed.
Oh, they're
And
all
not
committed.
like committed, but they're committed to the cause.
They're committed to the cause, and the fellowship keeps growing. I'm just saying that the time commitment at least means we've got 3 more years of Oak Island.
Mm-hmm.
It means this podcast can continue for at least 3 more years.
There you go.
As long as they
we'll
agree
do
to
it.
do the dig.
Yeah, so Marty acknowledges that the Big Dig idea has been hanging out there for a long time. He says it's like a child's dream.
Mm-hmm.
The science is relatively simple, but just making the solid ring around the money pit and then plug the bottom and then excavate that.
Mm-hmm.
Rick says, it's just enormously expensive financially and like you said, a big
Mm-hmm.
time commitment. But, I mean, that might be what they have to do. And I kind of hope they do it because I think that is just... you're going to get answers one way or another. And these are for answers for questions that they actually have questions for,
Do they know the questions?
Yeah, and they think it might be ultimately the only way to get the bottom of what happened on Oak Island.
Mm-hmm.
And like legit, 250 feet bottom.
Yep.
All right, Rick says that this is no small adventure, given the pieces on the timeline from, he keeps putting his hands on the table from that 1100 to 1400 time period. And he thinks that the story is beyond treasure and the recovery is spendable. Sorry, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be cool if they found that, but absolutely it's beyond that now.
Mm-hmm.
Gary looks at the timeline as a success and says it's bloody fantastic. These are artifacts that date back to the Middle Ages that they're talking about on Oak Island, and everybody's laughing about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gary wants to stay. He says, "Yeah, I'm not leaving."
Mm-mm.
He's like, I'm staying here. I'm going to help you guys solve this stuff.
Yep, so Gary's signed on for another 3 years.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
So we at least got Gary and Rick and Marty and Craig.
Yeah.
And probably Jack, for sure.
Oh, yeah, like you can get Jack to leave.
Yeah. And obviously Charles isn't going anywhere.
Oh, yeah, no way.
We could just go around the table and say, yeah, this person's staying, this person's staying.
Everybody's staying.
They're all staying.
And I think next year, that what we're going to see is, by next year I mean this year, the swamp and the money pit.
No Smith's Cove?
No, I am 99.9% sure we're done with Smith's Cove. I mean, we know they already filled it in, right?
Yeah.
And the that they have found what they needed to. After talking with Laird when we did that interview, I feel very confident that they got everything they needed and they feel that it doesn't mean they wouldn't work in, say, like the uplands or something like that. But I think as far as the cove goes, I don't think we've got another cofferdam or anything like that going on. I think that a lot of the efforts are going to be put into the swamp, especially with that paved area.
Yeah. Probably.
What did Steve say? We could do an entire season just about the paved area. Yeah.
I bet that's right. But I wouldn't stick a fork completely in Smith's Cove. You know, there's a lot of
did.
stuff. That's cool.
Dingle hopper, if you will.
Hopper, okay. Weirdo.
Yeah.
All right, so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of, they're really wrapping up the meeting. And Marty proposes that they close this meeting of the fellowship of the dig. And thanks to all, respect to all. It's been a good run, and let's see what the future brings. Rick says, cheers to everybody. And then they get up and start walking out.
Cheers.
But then, I just got like goosebumps because we're going to talk about the Money Pit and the 10X site.
Okay.
What?
I didn't know that gave you goosebumps.
Well, it's about Dan Blankenship.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just, like, when Dan popped in my head and we're about to talk about his little memorial, it gave me the warm fuzzies.
Yay.
You know? All right, so Clotworthy explained that before the team leaves the island for the winter, that the Laginas and their team gather at 10X drill site to because there had been they want to pay tribute to Dan Blankenship and his memory, right? So Marty says that Dan was a big part of the island and all of their lives. He explains that Rick had made a plaque from pieces of the island to honor him.
Yes.
Did you write down what the plaque says?
No, I took a screenshot of it.
Oh, I wrote it down.
Oh, okay.
That's cool. I got it. So the plaque says, Daniel Christian Blankenship, 1923 to 2019, a titan of Oak Island. This dedication stands as a memorial to his unbounding drive for answers and unwavering faith in God. A dedicated husband and father, fearless soldier, preserver of history, tenacious treasure hunter. Dan was an inspiration to all who called him a faithful friend. Didn't your hair on your legs stand up?
Yeah, it was great.
You probably don't have hair on your legs.
No,
it did
actually,
for me.
don't.
It did for me. Yeah, I mean, but no, it's just like literally, yeah.
No, it was wonderful. It
so
really was. I love that it was made from things on the island,
And it's shaped.
drill, rig, like from his drilling program, pipes from that. We saw his old drill rig and truck up there. It was really touching. I loved it.
Well, yeah, and the memorial itself looks like Oak Island. Like that's the shape of the rock. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so in the chat right now we have Connie, one of our listeners from Texas, and she says that she's on her way to Traverse City right now, and she can't wait to watch this podcast when she gets back. Hey, tell him we said hi.
Please tell him we want to, leave a note for Marty.
Yeah, if you
and
bump
Alex,
into Marty or Alex, yeah,
any
tell
of
them what.
them. We really desperately want to talk. Get us an email. I need contact information. I'll be very respectful and nice.
Hey, if you took your cards to get them signed, just I don't know, leave them there. Like give them all to them, and then we'll send you
whole new set.
Yeah, more and more. Anyway, if you can do that, that's great. If you can't, no, that's fine. Just have a good time.
Yeah, have fun.
Just have a good time. All right, so Clotworthy notes that Dan's children are there. So that's Dave and Linda. And along with Rick and Marty, they have, like you said, placed the drilling rig next to this memorial because of the breakthroughs at Borehole 10X. And Rick says that before they completely closed things on the island, they wanted to honor Dan for his work and that he did on the island for 50 years. Marty says that Dan led the way in a lot of ways, and this is a measure of respect. Rick notes that it was made from a rock on the island, like you said, and it seemed appropriate. And do anything but agree. That seems
Right?
extremely appropriate, and it's a beautiful little monument, a little memorial.
It is. It's fantastic. I
can't wait to see it in person.
Yeah, go see
Yeah.
it in person eventually.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we wrap everything up, and people are going home for the year, and
They are.
everybody's saying goodbye. It's sad and happy, and it's very heartfelt. But see the fellowship go.
Yeah, it is tough. It really is, because you know, you just want them to be able to work there all year. Like,
Yeah,
selfishly,
I
they
do.
probably have their own things to do.
They probably have
know,
lives outside of the island.
But we don't know about those. you
yeah,
know,
but like
very little.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, it was kind of funny when they went and were starting to say goodbye. It showed Steve like peacing out, like first, and then the next shot showed like Steve giving more hugs. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? Did he run back?
I know. I was like, geez, why'd Steve duck out? Him and who else was it?
Terry.
Yeah, we're like
Yeah.
ducking out
Yeah, peace
early,
out.
and then the next shot,
They're
they're
back.
right back there.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
going,
pretty funny.
ooh, they made it look like they were leaving before everybody
Yeah.
else.
Well, they got it. It was fine. It was fine.
It was fine. I
Yeah.
can still give them a hard time.
It was still funny, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Clotworthy wraps up the show with noting that some of the most amazing discoveries ever made on Oak Island happened this year, such as medieval tools and artifacts to evidence that something incredible and valuable may lie in the money pit. In addition to the man-made structures found in the swamp that date back to 8 centuries. You know, that's a long time ago. Marty, Rick, Craig have not only validated more than a decade of hard work and personal sacrifices, they have now come closer than ever to revealing the truth behind Oak Island's incredible mystery. Theirs is a story that will surely change history as we know it, just as it has changed their lives and the lives of everyone around them forever.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. We did see a big Billy hug.
Yeah.
Can I call bear hugs Billy hugs now? Or is it a Billy
What if
bear
Billy
hug?
doesn't actually like hugging?
I don't know. He looks like
Because
he
if
would-
it was a Billy hug and he doesn't like hugging, it's like a mean hug. And aren't bear hugs supposed to be nice hugs?
or mean, like if you
I guess if you're an actual bear.
yeah. He Marty also hugs Charles and tells him to keep the faith, and then Charles replies,
Never lost it.
he's like, yeah, I've never lost it and I never will.
That's right. We know, Charles.
He knows
We know.
something. He knows something.
We see you.
Yeah. Yep. And so I think the last thing that happens is that Marty says, 1200 AD, people were working on a swamp on Oak Island. It's crazy. Rick says, there's a wonderful story written here, and I've always wanted us to turn that last page on Oak Island. And we're certainly not there yet, but we're chapters in after all this time. We're just beginning. And he laughs. And then what does Marty do?
Roll his eyes. He's like, I know.
Just beginning. What?
And he's thinking, no, so much money.
Yeah, it's worth it. So
I don't know. You'll have to ask Marty if it is.
that's the end of my notes. Now, I think those are the longest notes I ever took on any episode.
Yeah, because we are really pushing our limit on time.
It's fine. It's, people aren't getting an episode every week now, so they'll have a couple of weeks to digest this, and then we'll be back with something extra special pretty soon, I think.
Yes, we
Right.
will. I was like, wait a second. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that was the episode. That was the season finale. Nice little bow on season 7.
Yep.
I loved it. And I'm looking forward to season 8
Me
whenever it happens.
So we got 3 more years. So we have 8, 9, 10.
Season 10.
All right. I think
And we start
you
seeing
and
gray hair on Alex's head creep in or something, right?
more on my head, too. By the time we get to season 10, maybe I'll start coloring my hair again.
Meh. All right. So, it's just, I'm excited for what the future brings. Obviously, with the pandemic, things have really slowed down, but also things are really picking up on Oak Island right now. We see evidence of that. If you go to the Facebook page, Oak Island from the other side of the causeway, they've like the woman that lives directly on the other side of the causeway. She takes pictures of trucks rolling in and out.
Coming and going.
So, and she posts them there. So if you want to keep kind of up to date with things that are happening, I would definitely recommend following that page.
Yeah,
And,
if you like to speculate, and
yeah.
you know we do.
we do. Yeah, so that's really fun. But yeah, so things are happening, and hopefully we get a full season 8. It may or may not be with some of the teammates, and maybe some of the people from the United States won't even be there. Maybe they'll just be.
Maybe they'll teleconference.
Yep, they'll zoom in, right?
Yeah, zoom. Yeah,
zoom.
I really think this next season's going to be really different, considering that they're probably shorthanded because you have a lot of our U.S. fellowship that isn't going to be able to get over.
At least at the time.
At least
right now.
And who knows? Maybe they won't for most of the digging season. Maybe.
Man, I hope not. I hope they can get over there. Can you imagine Rick not getting to go to Oak Island for a year?
I can't.
Maybe he's there right now. We don't know.
That's true. But
maybe he found a way to sneak across the border.
Couldn't?
Yeah.
Well, you have to get across. You have to quarantine.
Yeah.
You have to. But
it's tough.
And then you're also risking. If you're out working.
Yeah.
You just never know.
You never know.
All right, should we wrap this up?
Yeah. Do we have Clotworthies?
Oh, snap. Yes.
We can't do an episode without a Clotworthy moment.
All right. So, yeah, it's been a while, but we did vote on our last Clotworthy moment.
We did.
Would you like to know the winner?
Yes. Who won last week? Episode 22. So that was like
weeks ago.
That was like 3 months ago. Who won that Clotworthy moment?
All right, ready?
A hinge? Possibly from a chest? Could it be evidence of something of value that Samuel Ball hid beneath his property for safekeeping?
A hinge?
From a chest?
Samuel Ball?
Yeah, so that was when they were doing the test pits out at the Ball Foundation. That's fun.
That was cool.
Yeah, maybe it was a hinge from a chest, or maybe it was a hinge from like a shelf.
It could have been.
Could be.
Could it?
Yeah.
All right.
So do we have options for the finale?
Man, they were very few and far between.
Did you get at least 2?
Oh, I did.
Okay, good.
Ready?
Yeah, let's hear them.
A void? Nearly 200 feet deep in the money pit area?
A void?
A void.
Or a void.
A void? Yeah, that was a good one.
I mean, people say that to me. Avoid!
Oh, they avoid you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think many people avoid you.
Oh, well,
You're very lovely, very nice, very kind.
I feel like
and
you
gentle.
don't know me at all.
Well, we've only been married for 13 years.
Yeah, so I don't know why you still call me lovely and nice.
Because maybe I want to say something nice to my wife.
Oh.
Maybe I want to butter you up.
Oh.
Maybe I want something. Maybe I want you to take me out to a nice lunch.
We're
Or
quarantined. All right, here's the second one.
There is a competitor. Okay, let's hear it.
Gravel? From nearby H8?
Whoa. Gravel?
Gravel.
From nearby H8.
Gravel?
Avoid?
Avoid gravel. Unfortunately, the gravel did not avoid us.
They couldn't avoid the gravel.
No.
Yeah. All right, so those are your choices to vote for the Clotworthy moment for the season finale.
Yep.
And if you want to vote, you could go to facebook.com/OakIslandPodcast. There'll be a post there, probably maybe today or tomorrow, hopefully, where you can click on a picture of, I don't know, whatever was happening on the screen when they said avoid, or whatever was happening on the screen when they're talking about the gravel. Probably gravel. So you click on one of those, that registers your vote, and then when we have our next podcast, we'll tell you who the winner was,
of course.
We'll actually have a Clotworthy special mega mix kind of thing for that next episode. Also, you can vote on Twitter, and that's twitter.com/OakIslandPod.
Yes.
And you can get your votes in that way too. So either way works.
Yes. So if you want to get in contact with us, either of those two ways, you also vote there. You can also find us on Instagram at Oak Island Podcast.
Yes.
Where else can they find us? It's been a while.
Well, they can leave us an email, right?
Yes.
And that's what the email address. What is it?
OakIslandPodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. And they can also call us. We have an Oak Island voicemail line. We haven't had anybody call lately, but it's probably because the podcast hasn't really been happening.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to call us and leave us a voicemail, 360-836-4549. You can do that and leave us a message. Our next special, you want to talk about what it's going to be?
Do I want to make promises? I'm worried.
Okay, well, we're going to attempt to do a Harry Potter sorting of the Fellowship of the Dig.
Yes.
And sort them into Hogwarts houses based on their
character traits.
There you go. They're traits. Yeah. So what house they more line up with? Because, if you look at like Slytherins, they're like cunning, they're smart, but they're also, they do what it takes to get their means, right? If you look at Hufflepuff are loyal friends that are usually hard workers. If you look at Ravenclaws, those are the smarty pants. Those are the people with the high intellect. And then if you look at Gryffindors are known to be daring, brave, virtuous. So we're going to sort each member of the Fellowship of the Dig into those Hogwarts houses.
And we really hope to do that live.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, so that you guys can have some feedback live. And then, of course, we're also going to put out the quiz or I'll do it through Google Forms where you can get in there and say who you think.
And if you know what, if you leave us a voicemail about what you think we can do to enhance that Harry Potter crossover, it could be fun. So go ahead and call us if you want to, and that's going to be a fun one, I think. So look forward to that. Also look forward to our next Oak Island theme song mashup. And in the chat, we have Agnes here, one of our good friends that we've met through doing the podcast. So Agnes is saying that she can find us here every Friday night for Oak Island Trivia. And that is correct. So just mention it one more time. Oak Island Trivia on Friday evenings, 5:00 p.m. Pacific, 8:00 Eastern, and 9:00 Atlantic, right?
Just the last couple things about contacting us to wrap up. We do have a website that's getting some more work done on it, which is OakIslandPodcast.com. We're probably going to be working on some rebranding this summer.
Ooh.
And
maybe some more like merch and stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking for some input back from you guys. And we'd love your input as we're putting out graphics and things like that, and kind of what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
So please, do that. And now, because it's a thing now, our podcast is on IMDB.
Oh, well, there you go.
And we have to have some ratings on there in order for us to even show up. So go give us some 5-star ratings on the IMDB.
I thought IMDb goes to 10 stars, so give us a 10-star rating.
10-star. If
please,
it goes
don't give us 5. That'd be bad.
Whatever the top stars is, give it that. We have to have
if you enjoy us.
Only if you enjoy it.
If you don't enjoy us, just don't give us a rating.
Then you didn't hear this. I'll grab the link. It just got uploaded. It doesn't show up on any of our credits until there's at least been a couple reviews on it. So I just wanted to mention it.
Yeah, and if you want to give us a review from Apple iTunes or something too, go for it.
We'd love that. We love reviews.
We've got a few reviews lately. I wish I would have brought them up and been ready for it, but I can't read them.
I know. They really warm our heart and keep us inspired to keep going. Yeah. And you guys really do encourage us to do that.
And one final thing, Patreon.
Yes.
We've put Patreon on hold for right now because we've been behind. Deidre's been super slammed with her work.
Yes.
Her real estate job, and she hasn't been able to create the cards that we need to fulfill those pledges on Patreon.
Yes.
So everybody that does support us on Patreon, you can just leave it alone and we'll turn it back on when we're ready to do that again. Everybody that has like the most recent payment's been made, we haven't fulfilled those cards yet. Those will be fulfilled and sent to you, and then we will turn everything back on and get the machine rolling again. So if you've already supported us, you'll get those next trading cards.
Yes,
just wanted to throw that out there.
So it's been turned off for July, so you don't get charged in July, and then we refunded everybody for June.
Yeah, it's just Deidre has literally been super busy having. She's had one day off in 2 months, and that was the 4th of July. So
she's slept.
Yeah, she's been super slammed, and we appreciate you guys being a little bit flexible with us.
Yeah, you've been very understanding.
Yeah, and we appreciate your generosity of understanding, or something to that effect.
So we'll keep you posted at where we are with the cards and all that fun stuff as we get moving forward.
If you want to see our most recent card, you can go watch our interview with Maddie Blake, because literally we debuted it with Maddie on the live stream, and he was over the moon about it.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
super cool. So, all right. Well, we want to thank everybody that came to our chat today. And we see all of it. Sorry we didn't get a chat with all of you, but we'll be here for that on Friday for Oak Island Trivia, and where you can win prizes and hang out with us, right? Is there anything else?
Correct. No.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for listening, and we'll be back. We have we have a lot more Oak Island stuff coming for you.
All right.
All
Have
right.
a good one, guys.
Well, until then.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, come on. How do you wrap up a podcast? Do you
I was
forget?
just like, bye.
All right.
Until next time.
Could it be?
Here's where you're going to spend the rest of your summer.
Hopefully not the rest of my life.